Joining me now, we have New Mexico Representative Melanie Stansbury. She sits on the House Oversight Committee. Welcome back to the show. It's good to see you. So in the hours before the cloture vote, you implored Senate Democrats to vote against the continuing resolution, saying the American people are shouting, please do not hand the keys over to Elon Musk. So where do you stand? What's your reaction today on all this?
Well, I think it's very obvious that the die was cast before the Senate ever took up the bill. And I don't think at this point, we can do a million postmortems on what went wrong, what tactically we can do different next time. And that's where we need to be focused, because the real opposition here is Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It was a no-win situation, no matter what happens. If the government had shut down, I used to work for OMB. I was there in the 2013 shutdown, and there is a tremendous amount of discretion that OMB and the White House has in how a government shutdown is handled. And there is absolutely no guarantee that they would have even reopened entire agencies, even if we had found a pathway to reopen the government. But I think House Democrats felt that it was a really important time to take a stand against Elon Musk, to take a stand against the Trump administration, and to say that we're going to fight back and to show our strength. And so I wasn't in the rooms in which the Senate discussions were happening, but we felt strongly in the House, and I continue to feel strongly that we have to keep punching back in the courts, in Congress, using the tools that we have, and in our communities to say we're not going to stand for this lawless and reckless behavior.
Do you think when it comes to the Senate vote, Chuck Schumer specifically, that it was about pick your battles, kind of looking, we can do long term, we can do short term, but either way this goes, it's going to be bad?
Yeah, listen, Trump was taunting Democrats, and he succeeded in his end goal, because now Democrats are fighting with each other over what tactical moves should have been taken. And I think that he didn't care either way. Donald Trump would have been happy if they'd shut the government down, because then they could have continued to dismantle behind closed doors. Now the government remains open, which he also wanted, because his real agenda is to get onto his tax package, where he wants to gut Social Security and Medicaid and take away critical programs like housing and food assistance so that he can give his buddies permanent tax breaks. So either way, the die was cast, and Democrats were going to be in a no-win situation. And now Democrats are talking about what the Democrats did rather than what is really the problem, which is Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And so I think we need to get back on track. We need to be talking about what we're going to do to stop this big tax package that's going to decimate further our economy while the stock market's in free fall, as consumer confidence is at an all-time low, and as our communities are under attack. We need to go back to the mat, pick up the fight, and stop them.
I'm going to offer this as one way that may happen. After we look at what Republicans have been going through, they go home to their districts. They faced a lot of angry constituents. In fact, let's listen to some of Congressman Chuck Edwards' recent town hall. Here's that.
I was proud to vote recently for the House budget resolution, which provides the framework. And you wonder why folks don't want to do these town halls. To be clear.
So you see him signaling there, and that man was escorted out by police. And Republicans are being urged to now avoid town halls altogether, short of forcing a government shutdown. Is this where Democrats might gain some leverage with the American public by holding town halls in GOP or purple districts? Do you think that's a winning approach, at least coming to citizens, to voters, and letting them tell you what they think and what they're upset about?
Yeah, this is the fundamental framework of democracy, that we are a government by the people, for the people. And the fact that those who are closest in representation to their communities, which is the House of Representatives, have been instructed to not listen to their own constituents means that they don't care about democracy. It means that they don't care what their constituents are saying. So I believe that we have to fight on all fronts. We've got to fight them in the courts, because that's how we get immediate injunctions against what they're doing. We've got to fight them with the tools of Congress and be smart tactically in how we do that. And our communities, which are literally shouting at these town halls, they're sending thousands of letters, are saying, we have to stop this. And so whether that's continuing to put the pressure on our Republican colleagues who don't care, who are lying and enabling the Trump administration, or us offering a venue as Democrats for our fellow Republicans who aren't listening to their constituents, we've got to work on every single front.
I know that you were on the DOGE subcommittee, and Chairwoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and the other committee Republicans signed a letter calling for investigations into attacks against Tesla and Elon Musk. They're quoting them as being domestic terrorism. So most protests have been peaceful, but there have been some acts of vandalism and arson, and apparently MTG herself may have violated ethics rules as she owns stock in Tesla. Is it going too far, labeling Tesla protests as terrorism?
Well, listen, the news has been covering all morning this bizarre DOJ campaign speech that Donald Trump gave at the Department of Justice, in which he is very clearly using the tools of the state to go after people he disagrees with, to go after free speech. The next DOJ subcommittee hearing is going to be trying to go after the media. They're trying to take on public broadcasting. It's very clear that Donald Trump and his allies, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, are going to use the tools of the state to go after people that they disagree with. So I think that it's an abuse of power by the chairwoman and the other members of the committee to use a tool of the committee to try to use Department of Justice to intimidate citizens who are exercising their free speech.
Do you know what's going to come up? What's on the agenda for that DOGE meeting? What are your expectations for it?
Yeah, they're planning to call the executive leadership of PBS and NPR. And we know that they're going to do exactly what they've been doing over the last several weeks. This is a full-scale attack against the media. And we've seen this across the board with kicking major publications out of the Pentagon, removing them from the White House press corps. And they actually have been using the FCC to try to decimate even the fundraising base for public media. This is the kind of thing that autocrats do, right? They go after people who disagree with them, and they use the tools of the state to do that. And it's very clear that that's what, unfortunately, the Republicans are doing now to enable the Trump administration.
Any chance Elon Musk is going to show up to that subcommittee meeting and take questions that you might have for him?
It's interesting. A lot of Republicans will tell you this quietly, but they won't say it publicly, which is that they're really themselves concerned and pissed off about what Elon Musk is doing, including the cabinet itself. But they are afraid because the stranglehold that Trump and Musk have over the electorate to speak out. But Musk did his own tour across Capitol Hill last week. But guess what? He didn't meet with any Democrats, and he didn't appear publicly. And this is my point. He keeps talking about being so transparent. If you go onto his wall of receipts, it's like a B-grade Twitter in which they're posting just random tweets. This is not transparency. And it's very clear that they plan to continue to dismantle the government behind closed doors. And I do not expect him to appear in front of the American people, because thus far he has not.